Yeah, my name's Matt. I'm a freelance broadcast producer in the UK.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, Matt, today. Can you tell us a bit more what exactly is the role of video broadcast producer? So what do you do? How does your workday look?
So usually, when I come on as a producer, I'm doing everything a studio would do. So I'm doing replay operation, um, VT operation, which is the videos you see, the adverts you see, as well as general video switching and audio mixing. I also direct as well, telling on-screen talent what needs to be done, as well as the observers, letting them know when they can start the lobby and we can get into game onto stream. Um, yeah, my workday generally starts. It's about 4 o'clock usually. We come in, we have a bit of a rehearsal, let everyone know how the day is going to go, give them their run of show, and then we just usually get straight into the production.
Amazing. So it sounds like in proper productions, and when I say proper, I mean sort of, UK League of Legends World Champions or something like that. The things that you're doing would be done by, a team of 10, 15 people or something like that. But for example, for UK Valorant, I'm guessing it's mainly you who's orchestrating everything?
Yeah, so I help get everything that's happening in the game on stream. Specifically with UK Valorant, we have two producers who are the people actually in game getting the video for us. But everything behind that, so making sure you see the right images on screen, make sure you're seeing the casters and stuff like that, is all done by me, usually just about one person.
So it sounds like there's a lot of stress and a lot of responsibility falling on your shoulders with the whole directing and producing things. What sort of preparations do you usually do before the tournament, before the game, before the match, and things like that?
I usually make sure everything's set up on vMix or OBS, which are the two softwares that I use the day before. That way, I'm ready to just come straight into the production, have everything set up, and usually the only thing that I'll need to do after that is set up the webcams and the audio for the casters. It can be quite stressful, but once you've done it a few times, once you've got through those first hurdles with a new production, it just becomes sort of second nature, knowing when to switch cameras, how to talk to your talent and stuff like that. It just comes naturally after a couple of shows.
If someone wants to get into it, so do you need any? You mentioned sort of OBS, which is the standard for streaming for anyone. And by the way, are you using just old school original OBS or Streamlabs OBS or anything like that?
I'm using OBS Studio as well as a high-end production software called vMix, but that won't particularly be available to the beginners.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there any other sort of hardware that people need, or anything else that people need to sort of get into it, or is it a lot of just getting preparation, getting things ready, or do you need a lot of investment to get into things like that?
To start off with, you don't really need a lot of investment at all. All you need is a good internet connection and a computer that can handle streaming. If you've got those two things, you can go in and produce. There are a few little neat tips and tricks that you might need to learn, but as I did, you can teach yourself that off of YouTube videos. And the OBS forums tend to be quite helpful also, which is where I learned a few things. So there's not hardware wise. You just need a computer and internet connection to be able to stream. After that, everything else is just an added bonus.
Amazing. So, what do you think people who want to go into streaming, directing, and producing, what steps should they take in order to get there? You mentioned sort of watching YouTube tutorials, going on OBS forums. Is there any other sort of pathway you'd recommend them to do? Is it volunteering in tournaments, trying to get as much experience as possible? Any advice?
Experience is the big one. Even if you're not volunteering in production to start with, I started as an administrator for ESL Gaming, so working on the tournaments, making sure everything's running well. That way, you sort of get a knowledge of the back end of how all the tournaments are run anyway. And then after that, you could try your spot at casting, being a member of the talent pool, or going into observing, and then you can sort of work your way up to production. You can jump straight into production, but it's fairly difficult if you've got no experience in tournaments to begin with, because everything has its very own. Everything has its own way of running. So if you don't understand how the back end works, it can be quite difficult to get into. So just trying to build up as much experience as possible. Getting that first gig can be quite difficult, but after that, it sort of just rolls off itself. You just advertise yourself and your services, how much you offer, if you offer anything, and you'll have tournament organisers coming to you.
So a few questions sort of that just popped into my mind. If when thinking of UK universities, what do you think universities can do to improve their current quality of streams and gameplay? Because a lot of what universities tend to do now is, if their team is playing, they usually just have either the point of view of the player, no other graphics, nothing like that, no special broadcasting setups. Do you think university esports could bring it up a notch, and individual societies could do more things? Because I know both Newell and NSC, they have sort of really good productions with a lot of people working on them. But do you think it's time for individual societies to step up their games? And if it is time for them to do that, any advice on how to do that?
Definitely. I think there's no excuses for having a subpar production nowadays. Everything you need, especially if you're at a university, is at your fingertips. It's just a case of teaching yourself and putting the time and effort into that. The one thing you've got to keep in mind is not everyone that's watching the streams is going to understand the game. So you've got to make it interesting and easy to watch for the person on the other side of that screen. Don't treat it as though you're streaming for somebody who understands the game that they're playing and understands all the mechanics. You've got to treat it as though you're streaming to someone who's 85, never touched a video game in their life, and has just accidentally tuned in. If you can make it interesting to watch for someone who has no idea what they're looking at, you're going to get a bigger viewer base, and it's going to look better to the people who do know what they're talking about. So just investing and putting the time and effort into making things look nice. Doesn't need to be fancy and animated. It just still graphics, having someone talking over it, having a commentary explaining what's happening, really bumps the production value up, rather than just having one individual player sitting there and playing and just talking, which obviously is a great way to stream, and it's how a lot of streaming personalities do it. But if you're looking to promote production value, then you need to start thinking about, how can I make this look better to someone who has never seen it before?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and especially on the side of having someone to cast the games and explain it properly to someone who even hasn't played any of the games. Because even if you have the most amazing graphics and your stream looks absolutely wonderful, if the casters can't really explain the game, or people aren't really understanding what is happening, it's not going to be great, is it? When it comes to streams, and especially sort of beginner and grassroots streams, how important do you reckon is the audio quality? Because one thing I keep telling to everyone is, if you're getting into esports, especially if you're going to, let's say, your year one at uni and you want to get into esports society, first thing you should invest is a good microphone. It'll help you communicate, but it'll help you, stream and broadcast and things like that. How important is audio?
It's very important, and you don't even need to go out and buy a high-end audio setup. You don't need a big mixer. You don't need a high-quality microphone. If you just spend, around £50 to £100, you can get yourself a fairly decent setup. Because if you tune into a stream, you've got to think, what do you want to hear? You don't want to hear really low-quality audio with a lot of background noise or anything like that. You want to hear someone who's clean, who's crisp, and you can understand what they're saying. So invest in good audio. I wouldn't necessarily say first, but it is one of the first things that you should do, is invest in good audio and investing in good video. But one thing to also keep in mind is there is no point investing in that if obviously your computer can't handle it, or the internet you're streaming over can't handle it. But I understand that's not really an issue in universities nowadays.
Definitely, as long as the university has their ports open, because I know a lot of societies sort of struggle with that and trying to get IT to open up the ports for different games, which thank God wasn't a problem for us at Roehampton. So you've worked on UK Uni Valorant and a few other projects. So what was your favorite project that you worked on in the past?
Definitely has to be UK University Valorant. It was the first production I did where we were using more than one observer or camera operator, if you will. So the teamwork was incredibly high, and it was something I'd never experienced before. doing like solo productions. So UK University Valorant is definitely the most challenging, but the most fun that I've taken part in.
Yeah. What would be your dream go-to tournament if you could, put your hands in, take a seat of the director? Would it be, League of Legends major, League of Legends tournament, CS:GO major, Dota international? Any preference? Any dream goal?
It would have to be the 6 invitationals for Rainbow Six Siege, the World Championships, if you will. The atmosphere there is absolutely amazing, and you're streaming to millions of people across the world. And even though you might not necessarily be the person people think of when they tune in, you know that you've taken part in streaming the biggest event in this esports to the rest of the world, and that's where I want to end up one day, is producing the 6 invitational.
Yeah, amazing to hear it, and I really hope we'll see you doing that in, let's say, a couple of months, maybe a year or two. Yeah. Do you have
Maybe a couple of years?
Maybe a couple of years. Yeah. Let's. Do you have any other advice for anyone thinking of going into broadcasting? It could be, any individuals or any societies who sort of want to up their production. Any tips, advice, tricks, anything like that?
My main one would be, don't limit yourself. Don't think that you can't do something. I managed to prove that to myself, that you can have a studio level production from the comfort of your own home if you put the time and effort into learning. You don't necessarily have to have your degree specialized in broadcast media. You don't even need to have any qualifications in it. As long as you can sit down and teach yourself how to do it, there is nothing stopping you. You'll be able to do it.
Well, amazing. Thanks so much for joining us today, Matt. I'll leave all the links to your website, your Twitter, and other relating stuff in the video description. And well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you.